Everwind's Early Access is finally getting a release window, and we might know the exact date very soon, but that is not all. We have big updates from the past weeks on combat mechanics, magic, and progression. For those who don't know, Everwind is an open-world survival RPG where you explore floating islands on a flying ship base. Think Skyrim exploration meets sandbox building, published by Biomes Interactive, the team behind Arma and DayZ. The developer shared several major announcements, including concrete details of what will be included in Early Access, and more importantly, they are appearing at IGN Fan Fest in February of 2026. That is very soon. They've hinted at a major announcement there, which, given the end of Q1 window they've already committed to, almost certainly means the final countdown for a game sitting on over 300,000 wishlists. Now, the October demo got many people excited, but also showed some warning signs, stability issues, and empty feeling areas that left me cautiously optimistic. In this video I want to share my predictions based on the free fightings and bring together exciting news that is otherwise scattered across the web. So here is what we know. The devs confirmed in several sources, a YouTube comment among others, yeah I know, very official, that Early Access is launching at the end of Q1 2026. That puts us somewhere in late March, probably the last week or two of the month. But there is bigger news. Just as I mentioned, they're appearing at IGN Fan Fest. That's February 25th and 26th. By the time you are watching this, we might already know. And devs hinted in the latest interview that they will make a big announcement there. Now, context matters here. The demo back in October pulled in about 355,000 downloads during Steam Next Fest. That's not bad for an indie survival game. It's sitting at 86% positive reviews, which is solid. So there is clearly interest. But, and this is important, the demo had usual issues. I'm talking crashes, performance dips, areas that felt unfinished, enemies glitching through the world, which fairly speaking is expected in a demo, but this is launching into Early Access in about 4 to 6 weeks, and Early Access means it will still be rough around the edges. Some players online are comparing this to Hytale, not because Everwind is the same game, but because it delivers content that Hytale fans have been waiting on for a long time. Other community posts even suggest Everwind might feel the void Hytale left when its progress stalled, simply because Everwind has shown real playable systems and open-world exploration where Hytale has remained largely in concept. I'm not quite as optimistic. To me, they both sit in that same space where the potential is obvious, but the actual substance is still being built. It's less about which one is better right now and more about which of these foundations you actually want to spend your time on as they grow. And so, if you are expecting a polished experience day one, temper those expectations, but more on that later. That said, the devs have been active, they are listening to feedback, and devlog number 5 dropped with some pretty significant updates to what's actually going on to be in Early Access build. So let's talk about what they are adding. Finally, my favorite part, the combat. This is where the demo was beautiful and ugly. While it was overall solid, especially then compared to bare-bones systems like in Skyrim, but it felt slow and confusing. There was weight behind your swings and blocks, but the timings felt like precasting was needed for almost everything, and the gap was oftentimes outright unfair. The good news is that the developers are overhauling much of this. First, weapon animations are getting tighter. Happy to hear that. They're adding parrying for both weapons and shields. That's actually huge because it means skill-based combat, and that's awesome news to many, including myself. There is a tighter timing involved now, and if you're into exploration, there are hidden, rare weapons scattered around the world that you can only get by actually going out and finding them. Not crafting recipes, not vendor purchases, just exploration-based loot. But don't worry, the crafting is not going to get left behind, as you have a place for all stages of progression, but more on that later. Then there is the Arcanist class and magic system, which is getting a pretty significant expansion. You've had staves before, but now they are adding spellbooks. Spellbooks work differently. They are for support and close combat casting, and staves now have 3 tiers: Novice, Advanced, and Master. Each tier presumably does more damage or has better spells, we don't know. Oh, and you can deflect incoming spells now. Yes please, more of this. One of the most surprising spellbook utilities we've seen is the ability to summon multiple shadowy companions to fight alongside you. At least, this is what it looks like from the footage published in the recent trailer. These figures appear to act as a temporary shadow company, flanking and distracting enemies for a short duration before vanishing back into the darkness. This also suggests we will see more summoning abilities, maybe a summoner class somewhere down the line. The thing I hate personally is that you have to charge these magical weapons, both books and staves. It sounds like another repair mechanic where instead of a toolkit you use maybe crystals. There is the universal rule that makes any game mechanic worth it. Make it fun. Charging and repairing your scarab is a chore. What if we could charge them by doing something awesome, like spell deflections, or executing mobs with those weapons to suck their souls out to power your items? This doesn't sound like crazy talk, does it? Adding parrying, spell deflections, and a tiered magic system all sounds awesome. That's the kind of depth the game needs, but, and this is big, it all depends on how it feels, because you can have all the mechanics in the world, but if the hitboxes are wonky or the timing is off, none of it matters. Beyond the standard blading board, we are seeing more depth in the character archetypes. Specifically, the devs confirmed in a recent interview that the engineer class will have access to deployable turrets, and hopefully we can mount those on our flying ships too. That would be sick. When you combine turret placement with the new parrying system and spell deflection, the combat loop starts to feel less like a smash that left click and more like a skill-based RPG inspired by Souls-like games. It gives you more reasons to think about your timings, positioning, and rely less on overgearing and face tanking. Now, progression and crafting. This is where it gets interesting. Aside from usual crafting recipes and deep alchemy, they introduce us to item upgrades that go all the way to level 10. They appear to be chance-based, so it's safe to assume that the further you upgrade, the harder it will get. Weapons have random affixes, think Diablo-style loot, and at level 5 and level 10, you unlock additional affixes on top of the base ones, so there is actual build variety here. You are chasing specific roles, specific affixes, which means min-maxing on your gear will probably be a thing. But why the headache of building beautiful gear without putting it to the test? And this is where the bosses are coming in. The devs mentioned multiple tiers of bosses, so that means just like gear you have variation in those encounters. A legendary version of the Skeleton King has been mentioned. I don't know much beyond that, but the fact that they are distinguishing between boss tiers suggests there is endgame content beyond just kill the dragon and you are done. That said, this is the kind of stuff that keeps people playing. If the loot chase is satisfying and the combat feels good, that's a strong foundation. I'd like to imagine that higher-grade bosses will feature new mechanics and a unique loot table rather than a simple HP increase or higher damage on the same attacks, but nothing is confirmed. Okay, so one of the biggest complaints from the demo, and I felt this myself, was that traveling between islands was kinda boring. You'd fly for a while, nothing would happen, and then you'd arrive at another island that looked pretty similar to the last one. The devs heard this and they are addressing it in 2 ways. First, flying ship travel is getting presumably hostile encounters now. I don't exactly know what that means yet. Could be monsters, flying pirates, random events, but at least something will be happening while you are crossing the air. That's a good start. Second, and this is the bigger one, islands are getting a massive overhaul. They are procedurally generated but with unique points of interest, which hopefully means they will actually feel distinct. We are talking hundreds of points of interest scattered across these islands. So what does that look like? Well, they're adding different biome types. You've got these rotten islands that have been strip mined by some steam-powered civilization, think industrial wastelands, and then there are these mines with ancient machinery underneath, which I'm curious to see what that's about, really. Most likely this will be your early access endgame content. There are waterlogged islands that are partially submerged. The jungle biome is getting a complete rework with dense vegetation, verticality, and ancient ruins hidden inside. In the demo, a lot of areas felt empty, like visually nice, but nothing to do there, except for beating your regular skeletons or turkeys. So hearing hundreds of points of interest sounds great on paper, but I need to see it in action. Are these hundreds are all meaningful locations? You know, it could be just scattered small camps that we've seen in the demo, because there is a difference. They are also adding small NPC settlements to some islands. Nothing massive, just little pockets of life with guards and traders. And then there is the altitude system. The demo had altitude 1, which was the starting layer. Early access is launching with altitude 2, and the third one is coming later during early access. So altitude acts as a progression gate, which could be interesting if they execute it well. It instantly reminds me of games like Terraria, where you dig down and here you fly up instead. From what I recall of the demo, the ship wasn't just a vehicle, it was a progression gate. You had to hunt down specific resources and tackle boss encounters to unlock the engine upgrades and power sources needed for higher altitudes. If they've kept this structure for early access, it means your exploration is going to be directly tied to your combat success and gear level, very similar to other games in the genre. Another highly requested feature by the community. They are adding a third-person perspective as an experimental option. It's not the default, but if you want to see your character instead of just their hands, you will be able to toggle it. Many people asked for it during and after the demo, and here it is, although it won't be perfect by early access. Then there are NPC villages. They have guards, and there is a trading system coming. Now, the dev specifically said trading is work in progress, which in early access terms usually means it exists, but it's basic. So I'm not expecting a deep economy system at launch, probably just give NPC coins, get item. Honestly, this is the kind of stuff that makes a survival RPG game feel like a world instead of a lifeless sandbox. If there are NPCs doing things, trading, defending settlements, that adds life to it. I don't expect too much from it, but hey, at least it's there and it's already a good start. Now, the story. The devs confirmed that the main narrative is about how the world got fragmented into these floating islands and it's connected to that mysterious planet you see in the sky. I don't know how much story content is in the early access build, but at least there is a reason this world exists the way it does. Even if it's just environmental storytelling or a few quests, it gives the exploration purpose. Like, I'm not just looking for copper, I'm trying to figure out what happened here. The potential is also huge for quests and story twists. Again, a foundation that I'm eager to see, but I don't expect anything advanced. So those are the systems. Nothing groundbreaking, but solid additions that I look forward to. Despite the Bohemia Interactive backing, we are looking at another ambitious project that's probably going to launch feeling light on content. As much as I would like this not to be the case, I'm pretty sure this is what we will get soon. How soon? Based on the confirmed end of Q1 statement, the IGN Fest timing, and the current state of the systems, they are showing the third week of March 2026 is the most likely early access window. I'd put that at roughly maybe 60% probability. If anything slips, it's probably the last week of March. I'll drop 30% here, and if anything goes seriously wrong, then this is the last 10%. Right now, the signals point to a launch that's close, not distant. That said, I think this is one of the more promising indie survival launches this year. Not because it's perfect, but because it's trying to do something interesting and the devs seem committed to finishing it. They heard the complaints about boring travel, sluggish combat, empty islands, and they are addressing them. And they do this quite quickly, which gives a lot of hope. And the scope of what they are adding. Procedural islands, loot-driven progression, skill-based combat, NPC villages, that's ambitious. And I love all of it. So yeah, I'm keeping an eye on this one. If you want to know the exact release date the moment it drops, I'll cover it and update the video description. I'm curious what you think of Everwind Early Access. Will you be waiting or already turned your gaze toward Hytale? Let's not talk about Echoes of Elysium, yeah? Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one very, very soon. Bye bye.